Phoenix is rising. Welcome to episode 24. They believe loneliness makes you pliable. I want to let you guys know that March 14th at 10 a.m., we are having a 2-hour workshop from sealed to healed for only $97. You guys cannot miss this. I've put up a lot of videos for it, but basically what you will be getting out of this is, uh, hold on just a minute. So it's on Google Meet, and you will get the workbook and you will get the replay. You will have a 2-hour trauma-informed healing session on Google Meet. Phoenix is Rising from Sealed to Healed downloadable workbook, the full recording of the replay, and you'll just get that in a package. It's emailed to you. Grounded support, real education, nervous system relief in a warm, safe space where you are finally believed. So, if you are interested, please, the links are in the description. Also, if you guys love music as much as I do, I'm a chill step, kind of dubstep person as well as gospel music. And I have Starseed Sounds, and I am producing a lot of cool little beats. Also, I'm getting more into trailers, music for just videos, right? 30, 60, 2 minute um, beats and all that kind of stuff. So, uh, again, if you guys want to sign up for From Sealed to Healed, the $97 2-hour workshop, which comes with a downloadable workbook, and you will have access to the replay. You go to Sealed to Healed, and that's a number 2 in between Sealed and Healed, .phoenixesrisingacademy.com, and you can sign up. All right. So let's us get into it. And you guys, I've said this before. You guys know me that I do my podcasts in batches, and today is the 24th. It's a weekend, and finally, I am doing this podcast that I was written last week. So here we go. They believe loneliness makes you pliable. They believe that if you don't have anyone, you must be looking for someone, looking for a crowd, looking for a tribe, looking for a place to kneel. And what they never factor in, what never enters their little equation, is that some of us are our own tribe. Some of us can stand in silence without collapsing into it. Some of us can sit with ourselves without making a pact, without bargaining our integrity for approval, without trading our spirit for belonging. And that's the part that breaks them. Because demonically influenced people, character disturbed people, cluster B people, egregore narcissistic people, whatever name you want to put on the cocktail, they always assume you're them. They assume you're insecure because they're insecure. They assume you would do what they did because they did it. They assume everybody makes the same deals in the dark because they did. So when they meet somebody who didn't, it hits them like awe. Not a healthy awe, not admiration. It's that twisted kind. I don't want to worship you, but I'm in awe of you, and I'm mad at you because I didn't have the strength to do what you did. I'm mad that you refuse to lower yourself like I did. I'm mad that you didn't sell out the way I sold out. I am mad because your existence is a living receipt. And that kind of receipt makes people violent, emotionally, socially, spiritually. and physically. I've even been mad at people before. I can admit that. I've watched the shift in culture where now you see an influx of black female directors, black female scriptwriters, black women being seen. And many of them actually are black skinned, but they have a flag. And maybe it's social media, maybe it's access, maybe it's momentum. But what I know is this: when I was in school in 2005, I was not respected. I was laughed at. I was not validated as a scriptwriter or as a poet. In the creative arts, there was always somebody ready to demean, minimize, or violently critique what I was doing, racially, aggressively, like they needed to break the nerve in me before the work could even breathe. And back then, black men were pitted against black women openly. The dynamic was fed, maintained, rehearsed. I was in my early 30s pushing through a BA and into a master's program at the time. I didn't even finish because the harassment was so relentless, so aggressive, so violent. It gave me PTSD just to log in. Literally, logging in became a trigger. Education became a battlefield. And then there's the body piece, the visual assumptions. People look at me and want me to be big, but not strong big. They want soft big. They want docile. They want mammy-esque. They want what makes them feel safe. They don't like the fact that I'm muscular. I've worked out all my life. They don't like that my presence doesn't match the stereotype they plan to manage. They see black skin and assume compliance. They see alone and assume desperate. They see quiet and assume easy. And then they meet the inner energy. And a lot of people can't take it. That phrase, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. People say it like a quote for a mug, but it's real. Because what doesn't kill you forces an upgrade within you: wisdom, discernment, spiritual law, pattern recognition. It increases your distance from the matrix, the distance between you and the script everybody else keeps reciting. And that distance is why you feel isolated. Not because you're weak, because you can't unsee what you've seen. You can't go back to being available for nonsense once your soul learns the cost. And that's the difference between a phoenix and a parasite. I will say this again. That's the difference between a phoenix and a parasite. The difference between you and a cluster beehive mind is simple. They took the low road. We took the high. When my enemies made me homeless, when the gang stalking escalated through a series of events designed to strip me of support, they knew the psychological gain. They knew I wouldn't be able to prove tactics that were meant to look like paranoia. They knew the label they planned to slap on me: crazy, conspiracy theorist. They knew that label would silence me. So they covered their tracks and ran the operation like a film. Isolate her, destabilize her, sure she has no one, make sure she has no resources, make sure she's too exhausted to fight back. And they layered it: witchcraft, remote viewing, astral projection, coercive control, fear, intimidation, and of course, gang stalking. the whole entire menu, and they were mad because the goal was not just suffering, the goal was collapse. Mind, body, spirit, soul. The goal was death. And there were times that I longed for it because it was so hard to get through. But here's what they don't understand. You don't just not die, you die to a state of being. You die to the version of you that believed you had to be small to survive. You die to the version of you that needed validation. You die to the version of you that thought peace would be granted if you were good enough. And then you rise again with new sight. That's why they're enraged. Because every time you rise, they have to change tactics. Every time you rise, Phoenix, they lose the script. Every time you rise, you become a moving target, not because you're running, but because your awareness has evolved past their control. I play this little game sometimes on YouTube, Cup Heroes, while I meditate, chanting mantra, singing mantra. While because my hands need something to do, basically. it focuses me. And depending on who I'm using and what armor I've got on, I can regenerate. And that's the perfect metaphor. They wanted permanent damage, but regeneration is built into the Phoenix blueprint. And spiritually, that's what that scripture means to me. Those who love their life will lose it, and those who lose their life will regain it. They took my life from me as I knew it. The life I had built, they slandered me, they set traps, they dismantled my family, they annihilated, assassinated my loved ones, sacrificed my fur babies. And in that stripping, something protected my spirit. And when the spirit is protected, everything else can be rebuilt. But even after you leave, after you move states, there are remnants, there are fragments, there are still little actors trying to keep the war going because they once tasted power, your power, and became drunk with it. So they recruit. They even use kids. They use group text chains. They use intimidation by proxy, and I'm still seeing it. I was followed recently by 2 kids, and I flipped it on them because I decided I'm not playing anymore. Any adult bullying using children to do their work is showing you the exact disease, a soul disconnect, a dysfunction. That's where the parasitic attachment starts. That's where those archon dynamics creep in, however you frame it. Because once the conscience is offline, anything can be justified as orders, culture, community, just joking. Just how it is, I guess. It's never just how it is, though. It's coercive or coercion with a smile. It's coercion with a smile. And what makes me sick is how brazen it gets in a new place, especially when you're Black and minding your own business. You move into a place and suddenly the accusations show up like a welcome basket, racist, pedophile, calling ICE just a spray of lies thrown out to brand you, to isolate you, to control how others see you before you even speak. And when you challenge it, when you get it in writing, then they backpedal. Not because they're sorry, but because you forced accountability into the light. That's why I document everything now. That's why I keep receipts, because this stuff thrives in the fog. During the holidays between December 24th and January 1st, I had a situation that pushed me past patience. A young Mexican guy dressed in a typical red and black or all, yeah, it was red and black, started with the aggression and slurs. And I heard the hard uh, in in the N word 3 times in 1 week prior to meeting this guy, 3 times. And each time, the implied message was the same: you're supposed to take it. But I didn't take it. I didn't take it at all. And when you don't take it, they get confused because uh, the whole performance relies on your compliance. He escalated. He tried to rush back to his apartment like he was going to get a gun. And later, he flashed a piece. He wanted fear. He wanted hierarchy. He wanted me to understand that he could call me the N word and whatever else he wanted to, and threaten me and sexualize me, and I was supposed to shrink. And I didn't. I stood there. And then this is the part that matters. He admitted it out loud. He said he could take my picture, group text at least 80 people, other Mexican people, other Latino, Hispanic allies, right? And the allies, and have them come after me. 80, right? That wasn't my imagination. I got it recorded. That wasn't paranoia. That was an open confession of a coordinated harassment. Exactly what people pretend does not exist until it's on video. And the irony is always the same. They can dish it out, but they can't take it. He wanted to call me the N word and still be protected, but if I matched energy, if I used the B word or called out what was happening, suddenly I'm the aggressor and I'm crazy. Suddenly they're the victim. Suddenly the whole community acts like accountability is violence. That's how these systems work. The predator wants to be offended when the prey refuses to be prey. I've also dealt with stalking behavior from staff, maintenance men popping out like jump scares, appearing where they shouldn't be able to appear, closing distance too fast, following pathways like a script. And when you confront it, they act shook because they were counting on you not naming it. They were counting on you doubting yourself, but I don't believe in coincidences, and I don't tolerate any type of predator. I am not part of anyone's hive. I'm not part of anyone's gang, cartel, fantasy, apartment complex power game, or culturally protected nonsense. I am a private person. I mind my own business. And I have learned the hard way that privacy enrages entitled people. Because if they can't access you, they can't control the story of you. And I have receipts, always. Mail stolen, products stolen, over $15,000 worth total throughout the years, twice during 10 years, blocked from saving my fur babies and taking them to the vet, smear campaigns, harassment disguised as just walking, accusations built on nothing but projection and paranoia, no backup, no receipts. This is what immature, character disturbed people do. They create a narrative where their violations are normal and your boundaries are a crime. They weaponize groups because individually they are cowards. They operate like a sorority of cluster bees, flying monkeys, hive mind, collective cruelty, because one-on-one, they don't have the spine. And when they realize you escaped, when they realize you're still standing, the envy becomes pathological because you become the example of what a higher choice looks like. You become the mirror phoenix of their shame. You become the living proof that the devil they bow to has no clothes. That's why they keep coming. Not because you're weak, sweetie. Not because you're weak. Because you're strong. Not because you're crazy. Because you see. Not because you're a target in some mystical sense. Because you refuse to join them. And that refusal No, as a complete sentence, exposes everything. So, yes, they can dish it out, but they can't take it. And once you recognize that, you stop being confused. You stop trying to understand the irrational. You stop begging for logic from people who are operating on domination, not reason. You stop negotiating with what is essentially spiritual and psychological immaturity dressed up as community. You get clear, you get strategic, and you keep your soul intact. Because that's the one thing they can't stand, that you went through the fire and didn't become them, but a phoenix. Your blessings are in your ashes. And from the ashes we rise, from the soul we lead. This is Coach T. I hope this helps somebody, and I love you.